Welcome back to my channel. We're going to be covering our Kybalion series, going over the 7 Hermetic principles and just providing a little commentary behind them. So far we've covered mentalism through 2 videos, one on the all, the other on the all in all. We've covered the Hermetic principle of correspondence, the idea that as above, so below, and the different planes of correspondence and what separates them being only a rate of vibration. And now we're going to cover the 3rd Hermetic principle, which is vibration. I'll be adding my commentary in here to break this down and make sure that we really understand it. Because like I said, all of these principles work together to form our universe and our experience. And if we understand these principles now, it's easier for us as we rise in our vibration and in our awareness. So let's dive in. Vibration. Nothing rests. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. The Kybalion. The great 3rd Hermetic principle, the principle of vibration, embodies the truth that motion is manifest in everything in the universe, that nothing is at rest, that everything moves, vibrates, and circles. This Hermetic principle was recognized by some of the early Greek philosophers who embodied it in their systems. But then for centuries, it was lost sight of by the thinkers outside of the Hermetic ranks. But in the 19th century, physical science rediscovered the truth, and the 20th century scientific discoveries have added additional proof of the correctness and truth of this centuries-old Hermetic doctrine. The Hermetic teachings are that not only is everything in constant motion and vibration, but that the differences between the various manifestations of the universal power are due entirely to the varying rate and mode of vibrations. Not only this, but that even the all in itself manifests a constant vibration of such an infinite degree of intensity and rapid motion that it may be practically considered as at rest. The teacher is directing the attention of the students to the fact that even on the physical plane, a rapidly moving object such as a revolving wheel seems to be at rest. The teachings are to the effect that spirit is at one end of the pole of vibration, the other pole being certain extremely gross forms of matter. Between these 2 poles are millions upon millions of different rates and modes of vibration. Modern science has proven that all that we call matter and energy are but modes of vibratory motion, and some of the more advanced scientists are rapidly moving toward the positions of the occultists who hold that the phenomena of mind and likewise modes of vibration or motion. Let us see what science has to say regarding the question of vibrations in matter and energy. In the first place, science teaches that all matter manifests in some degree, the vibrations arising from temperature or heat. Be an object cold or hot, both being but degrees of the same things, it manifests certain heat vibrations and in that sense is in motion and vibration. Then all particles of matter are in circular movement, from corpuscle to suns. The planets revolve around suns, and many of them turn on their axes. The suns move around greater central points, and these are believed to move around still greater, and so on ad infinitum. The molecules of which the particular kinds of matter are composed are in a state of constant vibration and movement around each other and against each other. The molecules are composed of atoms, which likewise are in a state of constant movement and vibration. The atoms are composed of corpuscles, sometimes called electrons, ions, etc., which also are in a state of rapid motion, revolving around each other, and which manifests a very rapid state and mode of vibration. And so we see that all forms of matter manifest vibration, in accordance with the Hermetic principle of vibration. And so it is with the various forms of energy. Science teaches that light, heat, magnetism, and electricity are but forms of vibratory motion connected in some way with, and probably emanating from, the ether. Science does not as yet attempt to explain the nature of the phenomenon known as cohesion, which is the principle of molecular attraction, nor chemical affinity, which is the principle of atomic attraction, nor gravitation, the greatest mystery of the three, which is a principle of attraction by which every particle or mass of matter is bound to every other particle or mass. These three forms of energy are not as yet understood by science. Yet the writers incline to the opinion that these too are manifestations of some form of vibratory energy, a fact which the Hermetists have held and taught for ages past. The universal ether, which is postulated by science without its nature being understood clearly, is held by the Hermeticists to be but a higher manifestation of that which is erroneously called matter. That is to say, matter at a higher degree of vibration, and it is called by them the ethereal substance. The Hermeticists teach that this ethereal substance is of extreme tenuity and elasticity, and pervades universal space, serving as a medium of transmission of waves of vibratory energy such as heat, light, electricity, magnetism, etc. The teachings are that the ethereal substance is connecting link between the forms of vibratory energy known as matter on the one hand and energy or force on the other hand, and also that it manifests a degree of vibration in rate and mode entirely its own. Scientists have offered the illustration of a rapidly moving wheel, top, or cylinder to show the effects of increasing rates of vibration. The illustration supposes a wheel, top, or revolving cylinder running at a low rate of speed. We will call this revolving thing the object in following out the illustration. Let us suppose the object is moving slowly. It may be seen readily, but no sound of its movement reaches the ear. The speed is gradually increased. In a few moments, its movement becomes so rapid that a deep growl or low note may be heard. Then, as the rate is increased, the note rises one in the musical scale. Then, the motion being still further increased, the next highest note is distinguished. Then, one after another, all the notes of the musical scale appear, rising higher and higher as the motion is increased. Finally, when the motions have reached a certain rate, the final note perceptible to human ears is reached, and the shrill, piercing shriek dies away, and silence follows. No sound is heard from the revolving object, the rate of motion being so high that the human ear cannot register the vibrations. Then comes the perception of rising degrees of heat. Then, after quite a time, the eye catches a glimpse of the object becoming a dull, dark, reddish color. As the rate increases, the red becomes brighter. Then, as the speed is increased, the red melts into an orange. Then the orange melts into a yellow. Then follow successfully the shades of green, blue, indigo, and finally violet. As the rate of speed increases, then the violet shades away and all color disappears, the human eye not being able to register them. But there are invisible rays emanating from the revolving object, the rays that are used in photography, and the subtle rays of light. Then begin to manifest the peculiar rays known as the X-rays, as the constitution of the object changes. Electricity and magnetism are emitted when an appropriate rate of vibration is attained. All right, so let's take a moment and unpack this because I know I read through a lot. These last couple paragraphs that I read here, where it's talking about how an object vibrating at a certain speed will begin to emanate a tone and essentially go through the musical scale, all the way to the rate being increased, and then the perception of colors arising, to it now going to a rate of increase that allows for a x-ray as the constitution of an object changes. You're beginning to see how the rate of vibration opens the potential for different things to come into your awareness. So when we're listening to music, we're aware of a certain rate of vibration. That's why music can have such a huge impact on you, especially if the lyrics mean something to you and now you're singing that feelingly. When you're singing that, there's a tone going throughout all of your body, which is made up primarily of fluids. So that's why music can have like a hypnotic effect on a community. And now you think about colors and all of these colors having their own rate and mode of vibration. And now you think about art and the effect that art can have based on the higher level of vibration that certain things are at, and different colors that are chosen to meld together. What you're seeing is a snapshot of an image that was in someone's mind and is now on paper. There is an awe and a majesty associated with that. And the rate of vibration of it can have an effect on you. So I think that this chapter, covering vibration, is critical for all of us to understand what's going on around us and look at it from this perspective of just vibrating atoms that are at different rates and modes of vibration, and all of them interacting with you and having an effect on you. But at the same time, you being a conscious God being can have an effect on everything around you as well with your vibration. Let's continue. When the object reaches a certain rate of vibration, its molecules disintegrate and resolve themselves into the original elements or atoms. Then the atoms, following the principle of vibrations, are separated into the countless corpuscles of which they are composed. And finally, even the corpuscles disappear and the object may be said to be composed of the ethereal substance. Science does not dare to follow the illustration further, but the Hermeticists teach that if the vibrations be continually increased, the object would mount up the successive states of manifestation and would in turn manifest the various mental stages, and then on spiritward, until it would finally re-enter the all, which is absolute spirit. I want to pause there because when it mentions re-enter the all, I don't want to conjure a mental image of you being outside of the all, because nothing can exist outside of the all. You are now within the mind of God, and you always have been, though you may not be fully aware of it, or you may have some slight awareness of it, but you haven't fully experienced it yet. What we're talking about here is coming to a full realization and experience of all that is, and your oneness with all that is. That's all we mean here when this text says re-enter the all. You've never left. The object, however, would have ceased to be an object long before the stage of ethereal substance was reached. But otherwise, the illustration is correct inasmuch as it shows the effect of constantly increased rates and modes of vibration. It must be remembered in the above illustration that at the stages at which the object throws off vibrations of light, heat, etc., it is not actually resolved into those forms of energy which are much higher in the scale, but simply that it reaches a degree of vibration in which those forms of energy are liberated, in a degree, from the confining influences of its molecules, atoms, and corpuscles, as the case may be. These forms of energy, although much higher in the scale than matter, are imprisoned and confined in the material combination. By reasons of the energies manifesting through and using material forms, but thus becoming entangled and confined in their creations of material forms, which to an extent is true of all creations, the creating force becoming involved in its creation. But the Hermetic teachings go much further than do those of modern science. They teach that all manifestation of thought, emotion, reason, will, and desire, or any mental state or condition, are accompanied by vibrations, a portion of which are thrown off and which tend to affect the minds of other persons by induction. This is the principle which produces the phenomena of telepathy, mental influence, and other forms of the action and power of mind over mind, with which the general public is rapidly becoming acquainted, owing to the wide dissemination of occult knowledge by the various schools, cults, and teachers along these lines at this time. Now, I want to pause here because this is extremely important. We are all psychic, we are all telepathic, and the reason that we all are is because we all exist within the mind of the all. Now, I have a series dedicated to how to hone your psychic powers, but for now it's important that you understand that you are, because your ignorance of that fact doesn't change the fact that you are. And as you just heard me read from the Kybalion, your mind does have an influence over other minds. And in certain situations, you may be able to pick up thought impressions that you intuit as a vibe of something off or something different. It could be a vibe of something good, telling you to go somewhere or to have an interaction with someone. You could also pick up on someone's intent for you just by stepping into a room and feeling what the energy or where the vibration is. You have to understand that at any given point in time, you are in control of your mental state. And anything that attempts to influence your mental state negatively, to direct you towards a mental state that would produce fruit that are negative to you, that's a form of witchcraft. And if you recognize it, you understand that just because someone is attempting to put a spell on you to make you think a certain thing and thus create in a certain way in your life, that doesn't mean that they have any kind of power over you. In fact, if you know how to protect yourself, you can ensure that that attack is dissolved before it has a chance to manifest or be otherwise taken form. Or you can, in the spirit of teaching a person why they should not do that, send it back so that they experience what they wanted for you to experience, and that karma would teach them their lesson. You don't do it to try to hurt somebody, because that comes back to you. Understand, everyone is just a reflection of you, going through a different mental state from you. That's why we have to show love to everybody. That's why we have to just be understanding. The more understanding you are to other people who may or may not, or who may have wittingly or unwittingly fallen into a destructive mental state, the more people will show kindness to you when you fall into your destructive mental states. Now imagine if all of us are walking around here able to recognize when someone is in a destructive mental state, and they can't get down the block without minds pulling them out of that state. What type of society do we become then? Every thought, emotion, or mental state has its corresponding rate and mode of vibration. And by an effort of the will of the person or of other persons, these mental states may be reproduced, just as a musical tone may be reproduced by causing an instrument to vibrate at a certain rate, just as color may be reproduced in the same way. By a knowledge of the principle of vibration, as applied to mental phenomena, one may polarize his mind to any degree he wishes, thus gaining a perfect control over his mental states, moods, etc. In the same way, he may affect the minds of others, producing the desired mental states in them. In short, he may be able to produce on the mental plane that which science produces on the physical plane, namely, vibrations at will. This power, of course, may be acquired only by the proper instruction, exercises, practice, etc. The science being that of mental transmutation, one of the branches of the Hermetic art. A little reflection on what we have said will show the student that the principle of vibration underlines the wonderful phenomena of the power manifested by the masters and adepts, who are able to apparently set aside the laws of nature, but who in reality are simply using one law against another, one principle against others, and who accomplish their results by changing the vibrations of material object or forms of energy, and thus perform what are commonly called miracles. As one of the old Hermetic writers has truly said, he who understands the principle of vibration has grasped the scepter of power. So I want to unpack that last portion of this chapter here. Yes, we are saying, or yes, I did just read that you can control your mental state. And not only that, they give a secret here. By a knowledge of the principle of vibration as applied to mental phenomena, one may polarize his mind to any degree he wishes, thus gaining a perfect control over his mental states. So we haven't touched polarity yet. We briefly touched it in the discussion of hot and cold being the same thing. In discussion of hot and cold being the same thing. But we haven't covered the chapter on polarity. That's the next chapter. And that video will be up, so you should be able to go and watch that directly after this. But the idea being here that you choose the experience that you want. You choose where you're vibrating within a particular frequency. So like the frequencies of hot and cold, and we choose where on the thermometer we want to experience our temperature at. It's the same thing with any phenomena, because all phenomena is just a rate or mode of vibration. And you can choose where on the scale of that vibration, or where on the scale of an emotion. The emotions are always on opposite sides of scales, like love, hate, or fear, courage. And you choose. You can master your mood to the point where you choose in any given point in time what degree or mode of vibration you want to experience, or what degree of an emotion you want to experience. Now, this is the type of mastery that we're all coming to be able to move through this world, but not be affected by it. To understand that all things, all people are just traversing through mental states, and all phenomena is just a rate mode of vibration. Now, as we continue with these principles, these keys are going to start to come together for you, and you're going to start to really see how you can use these principles to change your circumstances. And then we're going to get into some real deep esoteric reality creation techniques, some models of reality creation that may resonate with you and may help you in creating your reality. I just want you to know, I love you. I want to see the fullest expression of you. I hope something I said today resonated with you. See you in the next video. This is a Spark.